Hi, I'm Coney Cat, and today I'm going to show you how to set up and play Welcome to the Moon. There is a lot of game in this little tiny box. It plays 1 to 6 players, runs about 30 minutes, for ages 10 and up. This is considered a flip and write game. We're going to flip cards over and take what's on those cards and write them down on our player boards. The gameplay is very accessible to any level player, but there is a lot of strategy in these games. So there is a campaign mode, there is a solo mode, there is a play whatever you want mode, and there are 8 maps, different scenarios, different kind of rules and conditions. This is a great game to check out and add to your collection. So let me get into this and I'll show you how to play. This is everything you'll find in the box. We have 63 starship cards. We have 48 mission cards. We have 6 dry erase markers. We have 24 double-sided dry erase adventure sheets. For the solo mode, we have 11 cards for the Astro solo mode. These are these cards here. And for the campaign mode, we have a campaign book and campaign cards here that we're not supposed to look at until we take on the campaign. And last but not least, we have the rule book here. Setup is the same regardless of which adventure you decide to take. So I'm going to start off by just showing you briefly up in the top corner of our adventure sheet. You'll see a number and an icon. This has a 1 with a rocket ship. If you flip this over, we have a 2 with that symbol. Here we have a 3 with that symbol and a 4 with this symbol, the 5, the 6, 7, and 8. When you go to set up for whichever adventure you want to play, you are going to first choose that sheet, and each player will take that sheet and place that in front of them. You'll give each player a dry erase marker, and you will choose the mission cards associated with that adventure. So for the rocket launch adventure, we are going to pull the cards with that rocket with the 1 marked A, B, and C. We'll pull all of those. As you can see, there are other cards with the matching adventure sheets for those. Those we will set aside. And out of these, there are 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's. You're going to choose one of each randomly. So I'm going to choose this A, this B, and this C. Next, you're going to shuffle up all the starship cards and split them into 3 piles in the middle of the table. Here we have our 3 piles equally split with the number side face up. And then we're ready to play. Now there are 8 adventures that can be played with the same starship cards. The way you play and the rules for each adventure will be different. So I'm going to start off by giving you the standard rules that will be used no matter what adventure you use, and then I will go into detail for each specific adventure separated out. The rulebook does suggest that you do not read all of the set of rules for all the adventures, but to discover them gradually as you play. But again, I will show you how each adventure will play in case you need help when you come upon it. The game turn is played in successive turns, and each turn is made up of the following phases. The first phase is to flip 3 starship cards. The next is to pick a number and action. 3 is to write it down on your adventure sheet. And 4 is to optionally use the action. 5 is incidents. 6th phase is accomplish a mission, also optional. So let's get into phase 1, which is flip the 3 starship cards. At the beginning of each turn, the top card of each draw pile is flipped and placed in front of its pile with the action face up. So we will grab this one face up, this one face up, and this one face up. Now, when you flip the last card of each draw pile, you'll shuffle separately the 3 discards pile to form 3 new draw piles. Now, there is a nice little hint on the cards with the number face up. You'll see there is an icon in these top corners here that will show you what will be flipped over when they flip. So for example, when we flipped this 5, it had the lightning bolt, and we have the lightning bolt action here. With this 8, we had the water, and that was the water here. This 5 had the robot. We flip it over and it's the robot. So you have a preview of what actions will be coming up when you flip the cards. Now, our second action is pick a number and action combination. This turn is done simultaneously among all the players, and each player will pick one of the 3 available combinations of actions and numbers. And several players can pick the same combination. So you can either pick the 7 with the lightning bolt, the 6 with the water, or the 11 and the robot. The highest value card is a 15 and the lowest is a 1. Our third phase of our turn is to write down the number that we chose from the combination. So on your adventure sheet here, you'll write down the number that you wanted on an empty space. And these spaces are grouped differently depending on the adventure sheet. This one here, this bottom row is all one row. The green here, the purple here, these are all together by row in the rocket ship here. In each zone or row on this particular adventure sheet, the numbers must be placed in ascending order from the lowest to the highest. And a number can never appear twice in the same zone. So for example, since this is the first number I'm placing, this will greatly determine how I will be able to play each row. I would probably want to choose the 11 and put it on one of these ends. That would be the highest number of the row. So I could put that 11 here. Now I could place that 11 right here, but I can only place numbers to the right of it that are higher than 11. I can only place numbers to the left of it that are lower than 11. They don't have to be in exact consecutive order, but the numbers do have to be lower. I could also start off this row with a 6 right here, but every number that I put next to it will need to be higher. In a zone, you can leave as many empty spaces in between the numbers as you want, as long as when you go to fill it in, that you still respect the ascending order rule. So as long as I place a number that is higher than the 2 next to it, or lower than the 8, and higher than the 8 and lower than the 11. If you can write down at least one of the 3 available numbers, you must pick that combination. Now, if you are unable to write down any of the 3 numbers that are on here, you must cross off one of the system errors, which is denoted on each adventure sheet with a giant exclamation point and a bunch of icons to cross off. So if I was unable to place a number on this turn, I would X that out as my turn. Next, we have phase 4, which is use the action, and this is optional. There are 6 actions that you can perform on your adventure. Each adventure has different rules for those actions, but there are some generalized instructions for each action. The robot action allows you to connect, build, cut, or explore different parts depending on the adventure you are playing. The water and plant actions allow you to collect resources and earn points or bonuses, but only if you write the number associated with them in specific spaces of your adventure sheet. This is the energy action. This will allow you to improve other actions or their values. This is the astronaut action, and it allows you to modify the value of the number of the chosen combination before you write it down. And you can go up or down by 2. So if you had a number 11, you could, and this action was associated with it, you could make that 11 a 12 or a 13 or a 10 or a 9, and then write that number down on your adventure sheet. With this action, you could potentially have a number higher than the 15 that we will see on our star deck cards. The only limitation is that you cannot go below 0 with the numbers. This action here is the planning action. It allows you to fill in additional space on the same turn, besides the space in which you have written down the number of your combination. When you do that, you will write an X in the empty space of your choice to denote that that has been used. And the spaces filled with that X are considered numbered spaces. Phase 5, there are some effects or consequences that can be triggered during the different adventures, and those would be resolved now. Phase 6 of our turn is accomplish a mission. This is also optional. It depends if you were able to accomplish one of the missions on your turn. There are 3 mission cards no matter which adventure you are playing, and the first player to fulfill in the same turn the requirements of the mission can accomplish it. Each adventure sheet has a spot to denote the 3 missions. Here we have an A, B, and C. If we were able to accomplish A, we would flip that card over and write the highest value number that we accomplished, which if you're the first player, you would get this 4. So we take the 4, flip that over, write that on our A, and all other players, when they accomplish this mission, will get 2 for the A mission. Okay, the game ends at the end of a turn if one of the players has accomplished all 3 missions or crossed off all of the system error boxes on their sheet, or if the player has filled in every single space for each zone. You'll add up the points for your accomplished missions and the points for each scoring field. You'll lose points for your system errors that have been used, and the player with the most points would be the winner of the adventure. If there is a tie, the player with the least system error boxes crossed off is the winner, and if there's another tie, you will share the victory. If you are playing in campaign mode, you will receive stars for each adventure, depending on your achievements, and you will move on to the next adventure by reading the next chapter in the campaign book. For Adventure 1, the launch, we are going to be launching a rocket ship. There are 9 floors on the rocket, and each floor is an independent zone that must be numbered in ascending order from the left to the right. In this adventure, you will not be performing the actions, but each floor is tied to one of the action symbols. And as you can see, the action icon is associated with each floor here on the left beside each floor. This bottom row here is a wild. Any number action combination can be placed here. So for example, if I wanted to take this combo of the 11 and the robot, I would have to put this 11 on one of these 2 floors. If I wanted to choose the 6 and the water icon, I could place the 6 on this floor. And if I wanted to choose the 7 and the lightning bolt icon, I can place that here. And again, this bottom row is all wild, so any combination can be placed here. Each floor of our rocket has 1 or more quarters separated with these partition walls here. And when you complete one of these quarters, you will apply the effects of that quarter immediately. We'll look a little closer at what the effects are when you finish a quarter. X is a building effect. You can write an X in an empty space anywhere on the rocket of your choosing, and it will allow you to complete quarters faster. You could essentially, in one turn, build up and be able to finish a quarter, finish another quarter, finish another quarter by using these X's. There are 3 rocket effects. Each active rocket gives a number of rockets that you must cross off in the scoring area. So we are going to be marking these off to get points as we play by these active rocket effects. Now, you'll see next to this one is a similar looking rocket effect, but with an open arrow on it. This is considered an inactive rocket. And in order to activate it, you would need to finish a quarter with this filled in arrow effect. And then you can fill in an inactive rocket on any floor of the rocket. Now, for example, if I were to finish this quarter here, I was able to place an X on any space I want in any floor, and I'm able to fill in an inactive rocket and make it active. So I made this rocket active here. Now, when I finish this quarter here, this rocket is now worth 2 rocket ship points over on our scoring sheet here. Now, if I don't have this inactive rocket active when I finish the quarter, I do not get those points. I would only get the 2 for the active rocket. Now, the last effect is this red symbol with the exclamation point. It's a sabotage effect, and during phase 5, you will announce your sabotage. Your opponents must circle a system error on their sheet and cross off the sabotage mark on their sheet as well. The opponents will not be able to trigger that sabotage on the same floor in the same turn. If you trigger several sabotages, they will be dealt with independently. And before being able to launch your rocket, you must cross off all system errors circled with the active rocket effects. Now, you can only cross off the system error numbers after you have completed a row of rockets. But if you start another row of rockets here, you cannot cross off a system error until this is complete. The one thing that is suggested is as you apply the effects when you finish a quarter to X off those effects so that there's no confusion on whether they've been used or not. When you accomplish one of the 3 missions in this adventure, instead of points, you will get an active rocket effect. It'll allow you to immediately cross off in the scoring area the number of rocket symbols specified on the card or your system error boxes. If you are the first to complete one of the missions, you will gain the high value number here, cross that number of active rockets off on your scoring sheet, and flip that over. Any players who accomplish this mission from here on out will gain 2 active rockets. After taking your 4 active rockets, you will mark off on the space up here which mission you accomplished. Here we would have accomplished mission A, and we will X that off there. I won't go into great detail about what all the missions are for this adventure, but these symbols denote that if you have the 2 robot rows filled and the calendar row filled, you will accomplish this mission. This one, if you have the plant row and the gear row completely filled in, you'll accomplish this one. And if on your board you have 10 X's out here, you will accomplish that mission. Now, the game for the rocket adventure ends when one of the 3 end conditions from the standard rules are met, or as soon as a rocket is launched. A rocket is launched when at the end of a player's turn, you have crossed off all the rockets in the scoring box up to the 150 mark, as well as any system error boxes that were circled. And these 8 rockets up here next to the final scoring space are crossed off to win in case of a tie. So several players may launch a rocket during the same turn, and this will determine the tiebreaker, with the player who has the most of these rockets crossed off. If you end the game on the standard conditions, the scores are tallied. The scores will be tallied by the highest number visible rocket score. In this case, it would be 90. You will subtract 5 points for each circle system error that hasn't been crossed off. So in this case, we would subtract 10 points since these 3 were crossed off. And that total is our score, and the highest score between players wins. Here we have Adventure 2, the Journey. This is the symbol for that. It's got the number 2 on it. And this symbol here, we have our mission cards chosen here, A, B, and C. This adventure plays a little differently when you have system errors like you see down here. The first 2 will give you energy actions, and those you will circle up at this top here where these energy symbols are. And you'll also notice up here where these energy symbols are, there is one already circled for you. We'll still play this adventure with the same standard phases. We will pick a combination here, write down a number. If we were to choose this 7 with the energy symbol, we would write our number down. And when we have an energy action, we will circle an energy symbol up here. When we have 2 circled, we have to use the action now. We will X those out, and this allows us to divide our one big zone into multiple zones. So when we have one of these, we can place a line and cut off and make smaller zones to work with. Now, this will be the end of this zone. So this will be the lower end. This will be the higher end. This will be the lower end. And this would be the higher end here. We still would need more energies to cut this big zone into more manageable, smaller zones. Now, you'll also notice on your adventure sheet that there are water symbols with numbers on them along your zone here. And if you have a combination with the water action, you'll be able to circle that water tank like so. And at the end of the game, you'll get that number of points towards your final score for every water tank circled. On our player board, you will also notice these items here. These are space stations with the green plant symbol on it. And we also have robots leading to them, as you can see here. Here, there's 2 robots here. There's 3 leading out here, 3 here, and 4 here. You'll also see next to the space station and the robots here are a multiplier number. Here we have a times 10 and a times 7, a times 8, a times 6, a times 9, a times 7, and a times 6 and a times 5. In order to activate our robot line and the multiplier, we would use our robot action no matter where we have written down the number of our combination. If you choose a combination with a robot action, you can circle one of the robots in any of these lineups, and the first player to circle all the robots of that station during their turn can circle the highest multiplier. The other players will cross off that high multiplier and will only be able to get the lowest multiplier. So for example, on my turn, if I chose this 11 in the robot action, I could put the 11 here and circle one of these robots here. If I were continue to choose combinations with the robot action and I'm able to circle all of them, and I'm the first player to circle all 4 of these in this particular space station route, I get the 10 multiplier and the 7 is off the board for me. The first player, and I filled all these in. The 10 would be off limits for me, but I would get the 7 multiplier here. When you choose a combination with a plant action, you can circle one plant in the station of your choice, as long as the station is connected to the zone where you wrote the number down. So at the beginning of the game, we have one big long trajectory, and we haven't cut anything up into smaller zones. Wherever we write the 11, we can circle any of the plant icons we want from any space station. You can also circle plants of a station even though you haven't circled all the robots connecting to that station. As the game progresses, you will have these cuts made that alter the zones. So the only way, once these are in place, for you to take the plant action is if you place the number in that area. As you can see, this space station is connected through the robots to this section here. This space station is connected to these robots through this section here. This one is connected to this section here, and this one here. So on my turn, if I chose the 11 in the plant action, I could place that 11 here and circle one of these plants. At the end of the game, if you have activated all the robots leading to the space stations that have circled plant icons, you'll be able to score points. If you choose a combination with our astronaut action, the astronaut action allows you to modify the value of the number in that combination before you write that number down. The astronaut action will let you increase the value of this number up to 2 or decrease the value down to 2. The only limitation is you cannot go below 0. When you use the astronaut action, we'll write down our number. We're going to increase that to a 10. And we are going to cross off one of the astronaut symbols on the board right here. Now, when you have used 2 astronaut actions, you'll open up the possibility to use the wild action. And the wild action lets you use any one of the 6 actions, regardless of the combination you've chosen. You would cross that off when you use it. If you choose a combination with our planning action here, the planning action allows you to place an X in addition to the number that you have chosen on your board. So we would place our 6 anywhere we want. We'll place that there, and we can place an X anywhere on the board. When we take that X action, just like the astronaut action, we will cross off the planning symbol here. If we did not place an X on our board, we would not cross off that symbol since we did not use the action. Just like the astronaut action, if 2 have been used, we have the option to use the wild action on our turn instead of a standard action in the combination. I won't go over all the mission cards for this adventure, but the ones we have out here for our A that we have chosen, it would complete this mission if we have 3 different space stations with their robots multipliers circled. We would accomplish this mission if we have 3 zones of these numbered spaces, 1 zone that has 6, 1 that has 4, and 1 that has 2. Here we would accomplish this mission if 4 consecutive water tanks on our trajectory have been circled. When the end of the game is triggered, we will tally up all our points. We will add any points here from any of the missions accomplished. Here we will add up any of our plants with the multiplier from our robot actions. Here we'll add any water points we accumulated from completing those tanks. This here, we will score 1 point per numbered space for the longest completed zone on our trajectory. Here we will gain points for the most zones complete. The person who filled the most zones on their course will earn 20 points. The person with the second most filled zones will gain 10 points, and the third person with the most filled zones will gain 5 points. We'll subtract any system errors from our total, and whoever has the highest score after adding all of these up will win. Here we have adventure number 3, the colony. In this adventure, each building is a space to be numbered. Each horizontal row of buildings must be numbered in ascending order from left to right. And each vertical column of buildings must be numbered in ascending order from the bottom to the top. When we write down a number on a building, we must make sure that the number is in the proper order in relation to the other numbers in the row and the column. Here's a good example of how writing down the numbers will look. Here we have a 4, 6, 7 on the horizontal side, lowest to the left, highest to the right. And the column side, we have a 4 and a 5 ascending upwards. Here we have a 6, 7, 8 ascending upwards, a 7, 8 ascending upwards, the 5, 7, 8 on the horizontal side, also ascending from left to right. You'll also notice on our spaces here, we have a rocket here. This spot is considered already numbered, and this spot up here where the observatory is also considered already numbered. There are also 2 X's on our board here, and these are considered already numbered from the beginning of the game as well. Now, on top of our zones being the horizontal rows and the vertical columns, we also have quarters. You'll see there is a line dividing across here horizontally and one dividing them vertically into 4 sections of quarters on our board. The first player who fills in all the numbers of a quarter will gain the highest bonus point of 15 points and would circle that on their turn. Any other players that complete this quarter will get the 5-point bonus. You'll see that this bonus is available for each quarter on our board. Let's get into the different actions. You'll see on our board we have a water icon next to the buildings. Those are our water tanks. And when you choose the water action, you can circle that water tank. If I were to take this 6 and water combo here and place a 6 right here, and I have the water action and I place the number on a water tank building space, I would circle that water action and gain points for that at the end of the game. Next, we have our plant action. In this adventure, our plant action allows us to build greenhouses. When you write a number with a plant action, you'll write the number down and you'll circle one greenhouse in the same quarter where we just wrote this 11. So we would circle the greenhouse here and we circle them from top to bottom. And each greenhouse will earn you 1 plant for the end of the game. The 4th greenhouse down here will earn you 2 plants. Next, we have our robot action. Our robots allow us to create a network of pressurized tunnels connecting the buildings to one another. You'll see at the beginning of our game, we already have 2 tunnels built from a rocket right here and here. With the robot action, you'll draw a line on a tunnel to connect 2 buildings. These buildings do not necessarily have to be numbered, but the line must start from a building already connected to the network. So if we chose our 7 and robot action here, we could place our 7 on the board and we would be able to draw a line here or here. So we're gonna put one here as our robot action. Now, as soon as a building with an antenna is numbered, like this one here, and it's connected to our network, we would circle its antenna and gain points for that at the end of the game. Now, if you're able to connect our observatory up here, numbered and connected to the full network, you'll be able to circle all 3 of those antennas. Next, we have our energy action. Our energy action lets us improve the greenhouses, the water tanks, or the network of antennas. To use our energy action, well, first we would place our 7 on our board, and we would choose which thing we would like to improve. If you want to improve the plants, you would cross off this first one of the plants. If you want to improve our water tanks, you would cross off water tanks. And if you want to improve the antennas, you would cross off the topmost available space of the antennas. So we would use our energy action like so. And then at the end of the game, whatever the topmost visible number is will influence our final score. Our astronaut action lets us modify the value of our number chosen before we write it down. We can increase the value up to 2 points or decrease the value down to 2 points without going below the number 0. When we write down our 11 and take our astronaut action, we will cross off one of the astronaut symbols in the scoring area like so. Now, last we have our planning action. The planning action allows you to fill in a space with an X in addition to the number of our combination, but you will have to cross off one of the planning action box numbers here, starting with the lowest value. The planning action definitely is powerful to use, but it will cost you points at the end of the game, and you will lose points the more often you use this action. And like our other boards, we do have system errors available. There are 3 here if you cannot write down any number on your turn. And these will also cost you points. I won't go over all the mission cards, but here we have 3 examples for our A, B, and C. If we number all the buildings in 3 vertical columns, we would accomplish this mission. For this mission, using the robots, if you connect the tunnel network to our observatory in the top right corner of our sheet, you would accomplish this mission. And here, if you circled greenhouses in order to have 10 plants total, you would accomplish this mission. When the end of the game is triggered, we start tallying up our points. We would start with any mission assignments that were accomplished and put our total here. Here we would count up any of our circled greenhouses and multiply it by the topmost visible number here. For our water tanks, we would count up all the circled water tanks and multiply that by the top most visible number for the water. And the same goes for our antennas here. We will count up all the circled antennas and multiply that by the top most visible number here. If you have gained any bonuses for completing the quarters, those numbers would go here and total down here. For the astronaut points, the players who have crossed up the most astronauts will earn 20 points. The second ones will get 10 points, and the third ones will get 5 points. You do not earn any points if you have not crossed off any astronauts. Next, you'll subtract the lowest number still visible on our planning scoring area, and you will subtract any system errors by the lowest number visible here as well. Here we have adventure for the mine. For the mine on our adventure sheet, there are 3 underground levels here. Each horizontal level is an independent zone and is made up of cavities that you must number in ascending order from left to right. If we look a little closer at our zones down here, you'll see there are little icons next to some of these cavities. There are these white ones, these are pearls. There are these red gems, these are rubies. We have water depicted as this icon here, and we have plants depicted with the plant icon here. When you write down a number on a space with a mineral, which is either the pearl or the ruby, you will immediately circle that mineral. Up top here, you'll see there are 6 main factories. The 4 main factories on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, are processing resources from the mine. And to fill these factories, you will cross off resources from the top to the bottom. You'll also see there is a fill-in bonus next to each of these 4 factories. Now, the first players to circle the resource that is connected to that bonus will gain that bonus. All other players would immediately cross it off their sheet and will not be able to get it. These 2 factories off to the right side are the astronauts and the planning, and you'll be able to upgrade their efficiency with the robot and energy actions. Now, above these main factories, you'll see there are 5 secondary factories up here, and you can activate them during the game to get instant bonuses using energy and robot actions. Let's go over what the actions do on this adventure. If you were to choose a combination with a plant or a water action, both actions will work the same way. You'll write down a number. And if you write down a number that's next to a water or plant, here we chose the 3 and the water action, you would circle the water that is next to the number that you placed. If you happen to place your number in a place that is next to a plant or a water, you would circle that. And if there was a mineral as part of your placement, you would circle that as well. Now, our astronaut action, as previous adventures, will allow you to modify the number of our chosen combination. It will let us increase the number by up to 2 or decrease it down to 2 without going below 0. When you do use the astronaut action, you will cross off 1 astronaut from the astronaut factory above. Now, for our energy and robot actions, both actions will work in the same way. You will cross off an energy or robot symbol in any factory you choose. So if I chose this 9 with the energy, I could place that here, and I can cross off an energy icon on any of the factories I choose. As soon as you cross off all the energies or robots or combinations of the secondary factories, you will activate bonuses that you must immediately use. So here we would get 2 plants that we can circle or cross off in the factories, and once we use them, we would cross them off. When you have crossed off all of the energies and robots of a main factory, and you have used all of those up, you will cross off this top number of the scoring box. Our numbers will be used to tally points at the end of the game. Now, during our incident phase, if we have 3 spaces of a column that are numbered, then we will extract the resources from that column. We will cross off the circled resources in the column up in the main factory. So we're able to gain 1 of these pearls and 1 of these rubies. And because we extracted these, we will circle this pump up here so we know we have used those resources. We do have a couple mission cards out here that I will explain. This one here, in the mine, if you complete 5 extraction columns, you'll accomplish this mission. If we activate the 5 secondary factories located at the top of our sheet, we will accomplish this mission. If we circle 8 plants in the mine, whether they are extracted or not, we will accomplish this mission. Now, when the end of the game is triggered, in addition to earning points for accomplished missions and subtracting any points for any system errors up here, we will tally up our points in each scoring area as follows. We'll count up our plant resources here. For every circled one, we will write down the number below it. We have 10 here. And our multiplier will be the active value of the factory, the one at the top of the factory if we didn't upgrade it, or the one at the bottom if we did. Here we did upgrade it, so we will get a multiplier of 4. So this total will be 40. We will count up each of the main factories in the same way as the plant one. When we get to the astronaut factory, you will only get points if you have upgraded the factory, and then each crossed off astronaut earns you 3 points. For the main planning factory here, you'll multiply the total number of crossed off planning by the active value of the factory. So each crossed off planning will make you lose 3 points, but if you have upgraded the factory, then you will not lose any points. Here we have Adventure 5, the Dome. You'll see we have 4 independent skyscrapers here. These each make up an independent zone with different levels, and these spaces are the ones we must number from ascending order from bottom to top. For each skyscraper, you'll see there are a couple of levels that have a little shaded background on them. These are the starting levels. When you first place a number in a skyscraper, you will have to place the number on one of these 2 spots. So this spot here, 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 here or here, and here or here. So this map will play a little differently, where each skyscraper will have its initial starting spot that you have to place a number in. Once you place the number, you will then have to place numbers directly below or above a number that already has been written down. In previous maps, we were able to jump around and put a high number up here, a low number up here, have spaces in between. But in this map, you are restricted by placing numbers directly above or below a number that's already been placed. You also notice there are 2 bonus numbers listed at the very bottom of each skyscraper and at the very top. The first players to reach the highest point will circle the highest bonus number. The other players will immediately cross off the highest bonus numbers if they have not reached that first. Now let's get into the actions for this adventure. The water and plant actions both work the same way. Some skyscraper levels are connected to the same levels with the water and plant research tower. Here is our plant and research tower here. You'll see they are connected to certain levels of each skyscraper. There is a illustration of a kind of a connection here all across each skyscraper in different levels. If you place a number with a plant or water action, let's say we take the 8 in the plant, we put an 8 in our starting spot here. We would then circle this plant action here that is connected to this 8 as our turn. As in previous maps, our astronaut action allows us to modify the value of the number chosen before we write it down by increasing it up to 2 numbers or decreasing it down to 2 numbers without going below 0. When you use the astronaut action, you'll place your number like usual within the restrictions of how this adventure is played, and then cross off an astronaut icon down at the bottom. The robot action will allow us to build a section of the dome. This is the dome up here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections that we can build using the robot. There are a couple of restrictions or rules we have to follow when building a section. First off, you can only build one of the 2 sections of the surface level if there isn't already a section built. So if you're building for the first time, you could only build to this spot or this spot. You'll also notice there are 2 different types of sections already printed here. One has these double ends and one has a single end. The one with the single end is an odd section type, and the one with the double is a even section type. And the number that you choose in your combination, whether it's odd or even, will determine which section you can build. For example, we are going to take this 11 in this robot. We place our 11 here. We don't have any other sections built, so we'd have to build on this one or this one. The number 11 is odd, so we would have to build this one here with the single spot and draw that on like so. For our planning action here, the planning action allows us to fill in a level with an X in addition to the number of our combination. The X still follows the restrictions of only being able to place it in adjacent to a number that's already there or in one of the 2 starting spots on another skyscraper. In addition to placing an X and your number, you must cut in half one unbuilt section of the dome of your choice. One section can only be cut in half once. So if we were to choose this 11 and our planning action here, we would have to place the 11 in a new spot. We would place it here. And we get to place an X. We could place the X up here. And then we would cut any section we choose in half. And we could cut this one in half here, while still maintaining that these 2 sections are single sections and not the double-ended sections. So when we go in to fill in, build a section, we would have to build these one at a time with 2 separate robot actions with an odd number. When using the energy actions, it will allow us to upgrade one of the 4 fields down in the scoring area. We have our accomplished missions, our plant and water, our astronauts, and our dome. So when using the energy action, we would place our number and cross off whichever one we choose in any of these 4 scoring boxes. So you'll cross off the highest number of the box and continue so from top to bottom. The plant and water field has a triple box. I could cross off all of these here with 1 energy action. The mission and the astronauts also have double boxes, and you could cross off the top level completely with 1 energy action. Here we have our mission cards. This one lets us accomplish the mission if we number all the levels of 1 skyscraper. This one lets us accomplish a mission if in the plant and water tower we circle at least 2 symbols in 3 levels. And this one here, we accomplish if we build all sections of the dome. You'll notice there are not points on these missions and instead symbols. So the first player to accomplish mission will gain the star symbol and will circle that star symbol on their mission accomplished scoring box. So if I accomplish this one, I would circle this, flip that over, and all other players who accomplish this mission after the first player will gain this symbol instead and would circle that symbol when they accomplish that mission. When the end of the game is triggered, we will count up all of our points here. For our mission accomplished, depending on which symbol you have circled, we'll write down the lowest visible value of the corresponding scoring area. So if you still have this top level visible, you would gain 8 points if you have the star circled for each mission you accomplished, or you would gain 4 points for any of those symbols you have accomplished. And write that total here. Scoring for the plant and water box here is a little tricky, but I will try to make it super clear. Here we have 1, 2, and 3 up at the top, and it has a plant icon or a water icon. We are going to count how many in each level we have those items circled. So our first one here has a 1. So whatever levels only have 1 plant or water circled, we are going to take that number, here we have 1 of those, and place that 1 down at the bottom next to the multiplier sign. We'll then do that with this second column here. We're going to count up how many levels have 2 of those items circled. We have 1 here, and we will place that here. Our third column here is for how many levels. We have 3 items circled. We have 3 right here. That would also be a 1. And then our final scoring for each of those, we take the top most visible number of that column and multiply it by the number we wrote. So we have a 2 up here times our 1 would give us 2 points here. Here we have a high 6 and then a 1 here. That would give us 6 here. And this 10 and times 1 would give us 10 points here. This section here has us write down and add up the bonuses earned with each of our skyscraper bonuses with the highest and lowest level. And you'll see up at the top here, each of these is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have boxes down here with 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a space for a top and a bottom. So if on our turn we happen to get our 3 and 20 here, we would place the 20 down at the bottom for our first skyscraper and a 3 up at the top. We would add all of these numbers together and place that total here. For our astronaut scoring, those who have crossed off the most astronauts will earn the lowest value in the first scoring box. The others will earn the lowest value of the second scoring column. You do not earn points if you have not crossed off any astronauts at all. You'll see that this column can be a little punishing. If you cross off only that first one with an energy action and you have the most astronauts crossed off, you will actually not gain any points until you get to this third one here. So you would definitely want to make sure you cross off the second one before the end of the game if you have the most astronauts so far. This is our dome scoring box. You'll lose points if your dome is not finished. You'll write down the number of unbuilt sections of the dome. So here I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sections unbuilt. Put that there. I would have to take the top most visible number, multiply it by that number, and put that here, and we would actually lose points at the end of the game. Also write down the top most visible number of our system errors used here and place that here. And then we would add our accomplished missions, our plant and water totals, our skyscraper totals, our astronaut totals, subtract the section built penalty, subtract any system error penalty, and our final number is our final score, and the highest score wins. Here we have adventure number 6, the virus. Now with this adventure, this is our housing unit here, and there are 5 floors. You'll see this is the first floor, second, third, fourth, and fifth. These boxes here are considered our living quarters, and each living quarter has a space for housing. Now each floor is its own zone, so this floor up here, we would have to place numbers from left to right in ascending order. This floor here is one zone, this floor here is all one zone, this floor here is one zone, and this floor here is one zone. And before we start this game, each player will circle an empty virus target. The virus target is this symbol, this gold one, and you'll want an empty one. There's one here, one up here, one here, and one down here. These ones in the middle are already filled with something virusy. And so each player can choose whichever one they want to circle. I'm going to circle this one. And this is where our virus will start. And because it starts there, we will have to cross off one of the housing spaces connected to that virus starting point we chose. Any space you choose at all, just make sure you cross it off. Every player can choose which virus starting point and whatever housing space they want to cross off. There is something to note with our system errors down here. When you get to the second and third system error box, you will trigger this little symbol here, which is a propagation of all active viruses, and that will happen during phase 5. Now, let's get into what all of our actions will do. With our energy action, you'll circle one energy in the quarter where you've written down the number of your combination. You'll also notice that in each quarter, there is already one energy circle started. So if I were to write the 9 here, I would circle this second one here as my energy action. Now with our robot action, this will let us quarantine quarters to slow down the propagation of the virus. We'll close one walkway of our choice. You'll see these are the walkways connecting all of our living quarters, and there is a little line in each one of them that you can use your robot action to cut off. Now, if I were to choose this 11 in robot, I could put the 11 here, and I can cut off any walkway I want. And if I cut off a walkway that is in between two living quarters on the same floor, it does not change the zone, and we would still number in ascending order from left to right for the entire floor. Now for our plant action, you'll circle a plant in the quarter where you have written down the number and then cross it off in the scoring box. So we would take our 4, place that here. You'll see underneath is a plant symbol. We'll circle that and we'll cross off a plant symbol in the scoring area, starting with the top row left to right. For our water action here, we will circle the water tank if we have written down the number in a housing space with a water tank. You'll see the water symbol is in specific housing spaces. If we were to take the 8 in water action, we could place the 8 here, and we would circle this water action above it, and also cross off a water symbol in the scoring box below. Same rules as our plant, left to right, from the top down. Now with the plant and water actions, when we cross off the last symbol of a row, we'll get to use the robot action or in the water scoring box and energy action immediately. With the plants down here, I would be able to cross off a walkway, and with the water actions here, I would be able to circle an energy spot in one of the living quarters. Now, you'll see that there are a few plant and water symbols down here that have a virus pointing to it or a propagation symbol pointing to it. If you cross off a water or plant symbol with a virus attached to it, everyone will immediately activate it on their sheet by circling the corresponding virus target. That means one of these up here. So if I crossed off this plant symbol here in the scoring box, this green virus is activated, everyone will circle that virus there. Everyone will then also cross off this virus spot on their scoring box because each virus can only be activated once. Now, if on your turn you cross off one of the plant or waters that have a propagation symbol next to it, will cross off that symbol on their scoring board, and all active viruses will be triggered for your opponents during phase 5. If several players activate the same propagation symbol during the same turn, then it does not impact those who have activated and only the players who did not. Now, our astronaut action allows us once again to modify the value of the number that we are choosing in our combination. So we can increase the 4 up 2 numbers or decrease it down 2 numbers without going below 0. And we'll cross off the astronaut symbol in our box up here. When you have used 2 astronaut actions, you'll circle this wild symbol here, and it will be an option on future turns. So if you wanted to use the wild action, it allows you to choose any action you want in the combination you have chosen instead of using the action that is visible, and you would cross it off when used. The planning action, like all previous adventures before, will allow us to use an X in addition to the number of your combination. So we can put a 6 here and an X over here. And again, like the astronaut action, the planning action has its own space up here to cross off when used. And when 2 have been used, you'll circle the wild action here. And that makes that available to use on your turn instead of one of the actions shown. Now, you cannot cross off a planning symbol unless you actually use the X in a housing space. For phase 5, our propagation of the active viruses, if our propagation of the active viruses is triggered, we must determine the number and type of propagation first. If I only have 1 activated this turn, then I will only do this once. But if I have 2, we'll run through our propagation for this one and run our propagation through this one as well. If a propagation has been triggered by the plant and water boxes down here, the propagation is only triggered for the players that did not trigger it. If you have triggered a propagation from your system error box, you will trigger that propagation on your sheet alone. So when we trigger our propagation, each active virus will spread 1 by 1 from left to right, starting with the top floor and going down 4 by 4. In this space, I have no active viruses, and I have no active viruses here. On this floor, I have this active virus, and because that virus is active, I will have to cross off 1 empty housing space of my choice in that quarter. So I can choose this one here. Now down here we have this active virus here, and we would have to cross off 1 in here. This active virus is in a living quarter that is completely full. Then it will spread to a neighboring living quarter if the walkway has not been blocked off. In this particular case, I would have to cross off that housing space there in reaction to this one being activated. Now, a quarter is complete when all its housing spaces are numbered or infected, and you'll immediately score points for that quarter. To score that, you will count up the number of numbered housing spaces and multiply it by the number of energies circled below it. So for this particular quarter, I have 2 numbers in housing spaces. So I have 2, and I would multiply that by 3 with the energy action circled below it, and that would give me 6 points. And I would place that number down here in the scoring box in association to where it is on the board. This spot here is our 3rd one down, so this would be a 6 there. And then finally, we will circle this area. It has been evacuated, and nothing else can happen in that living quarter. Here we have our mission cards here. This one is accomplished when you have evacuated 2 quarters. And it doesn't matter if they are partially or totally infected, as long as they are completely evacuated. This one here is accomplished when you have quarantined 3 quarters by closing all the walkways, giving access to them. For this one down here, if you circle all the energies on 2 floors, you'll accomplish this mission. You do score points when accomplishing the mission for the first time. However, you will also activate the virus shown on the mission. If I were to accomplish this mission up here, I would place my 8 in the A and I would have to circle the virus that has been activated next to it. We would flip this over, and anyone else who accomplishes this mission would get 3 points. And this virus will be activated in phase 5 with the propagation of active viruses. All other players that did not accomplish this mission on this turn would actually cross that virus off, because each virus can only be activated once. Our standard end game conditions apply, but with this particular adventure, the game will end if all your housing spaces are filled with a number or an X crossed off, even due to an infection. So we would add up all our points. We would add up all our points for accomplished missions here. We would add up our plant and water. We would add up all of the evacuated quarter numbers and place that total here. We will lose 1 point for each infected crossed off housing space here. So you will have to count all of those and place that number here. We would put our topmost visible system error number here. We would add all these together, subtract this number, and our total here will be our final score, and the highest total wins the game. Here we have Adventure 7, The Escape. Each starship is its own independent zone that must be numbered in ascending order from left to right. You'll see each starship is made up of 2 or 3 modules, and there are greenhouse modules tucked in there as well. Now you'll also notice there are connecting lines between the starships. Those are airlocks, and you cannot access those modules as part of those starships until the airlock has been activated. So at the beginning of the game, we only have access to this bottom starship here, this module, and this module. You'll also see that in some of our starship modules, there is a robot symbol inside of the space that we will number. When you write down a number in that space with a robot symbol, you'll use that robot bonus immediately, and it does not replace the action that you've taken in your combination you've chosen. You'll notice with our system errors down here, there are 2 robot icons attached to the first and second one. Those are robot bonuses that you take immediately as well. For our greenhouses here, you'll see there are little plants symbols around them and then a ×2. The first player to write down a number in one of these greenhouses will gain the ×2 bonus and circle it, and the other players will cross that off. So let's go over our actions here. When you choose the robot action, you will activate an airlock. So you'll draw a line in between 2 modules or between a module and a greenhouse. You can activate an airlock only if it is connected to a module or greenhouse already connected. So if I were to take this 6 and robot action here, I can place the 6 on my board. And because our only active modules right now is this bottom starship, I could activate the airlock here, or up here, or over here, or over here. I cannot activate an airlock anywhere up here because nothing has been activated and connected. Now the airlocks do not affect how you will number your zones. Each starship still is its own zone, regardless of whether an airlock is activated or not. Now for our water action here, when you write down a number in the space with a water tank that you'll see on some of these modules, you'll circle that tank. So if we took the 4 in water, we'd place the 4 here and circle our water tank like so. Now for our plant action, you'll circle a plant in a greenhouse in the same starship in which you have written down the number. You'll notice that some of these greenhouses have a couple plants circled already, even though it's not connected with an airlock. So at the start of our game, we could choose this 8 and plant combination, place the 8 here, and we would circle one of our plants there. And if we were one of the first players to circle that plant, we would get our ×2 bonus. For our energy action, you'll circle a reactor at the end of the same starship in which you've written down the number. You'll see there are 3 energy icons at the end of each of these. Some of these have already been circled for you. So if I were to place this 11 here, I would get to circle one of these energy icons there. Now, our planning action lets us do what we've been able to do in previous adventures. You'll be able to fill an accessible space with an X in addition to the number of our combination. So let's use R9 in planning action here. We'd place R9. We can place our X somewhere. And when we use the X, we are able to cross off the box with the lowest value available in our planning scoring area here. So we'd cross off this 0. Our astronaut action allows us to modify the number of our chosen combination. We can increase the value by 2 or decrease it by 2 without going below 0. And when we use our combination here, so let's say we place our 12, we would cross off our astronaut symbol in this box here, the topmost from left to right. When both are used, you'll activate our wild symbol here, and that becomes an option on future turns. Again, this wild symbol will allow you to replace using the action in the combination with any of the 6 actions you choose. And when you use this, you will cross it off like so. Here we have some missions set out here. This one we will accomplish if we have 3 greenhouses with 3 circled plants. We would accomplish this mission if we have numbered 7 modules completely. Here we would accomplish this mission if we circle all reactors of 3 starships. Now, when the end of the game is triggered, you will add up your mission accomplished points here. You'll write down the score of each numbered greenhouse in the corresponding starship. A greenhouse will earn you 2 points with 1 circled plant, 4 points with 2 circled plants, and 7 points with 3 circled plants. If you've circled the ×2 bonus, that value is doubled. So if we went off of this one here, we have 1 circled plant, which would give us 2 points. We'd multiply that 2 by the 2, and that would give us 4 points there. We will add up each of our greenhouses, place them in these spots here, and add them all up. Now for this scoring box here, for each starship, we will write down the cumulative value of the modules that form it. A fully numbered module will earn us 2 points with 1 circled reactor. If we have 2 circled reactors, that module will give us 4 points. If we have all 3 reactors circled with a completely filled in module, that will give us 7 points. You'll write that number down here in our scoring box. So right now we have 1 completed module with 1 reactor, and that would get us 2 points. Now, if we have a module with a circled water tank, we will take that value, our 1 completed module, with our 1 reactor, which gives us 2 points, and we get to double that with our circled water tank. This would score us 4 points. In our next scoring box here, we will drop down the lowest visible number into this space here, drop down the lowest visible system error number into this space here. We will add all these up, subtract these, and have our total score, and the highest total wins. Here we have Adventure 8, The Battle. In this adventure, we will play on 2 sheets that we share with our 2 neighbors. We'll place adventure sheet number 8 between you and your opponent on the left. And if we're playing 2 players, we are going to play with 2 sheets next to each other in the middle of the table. Each player will choose an insignia, a circle, cross, or triangle to differentiate between our neighboring opponents. We'll write down what we choose to use in the starship near our scoring area on both of the sheets we share. So I am going to choose a triangle. I'm going to place that here and here. My opponents, if they chose a circle, would place one here. We will also appoint a captain, and that captain card that looks like this will be placed in front of their left sheet. So we're going to place that here. And our captain will be in charge of moving the card in front of each sheet after the end of each turn to know which sheet we're playing off of. We will alternate playing on the 2 sheets between our neighbors. On the first turn, each player will play on their left sheet. And then the next turn, the captain will move the card to the right sheet and we will play on this sheet. The next turn, this card moves here, we will play on the left sheet. No player will ever play on the same sheet at the same time. Now, instead of writing down numbers, we are going to be writing down our insignia. You'll see each of our planets has numbers on them. So when we choose a number combination, we'll be able to place our insignia on a planet that has the number we chose in our combination. Now you'll notice on each planet there is a space with a red outline. That is the first available space. So if you're the first person to write down that planet, you would place it in space with the red outline. If the space you place your insignia in has one of our action items on it, you would take that action bonus immediately, in addition to the action you have chosen in the combination. You'll also notice that each planet has a moon on it with 2 spots there that you can also place your insignia on as well. Now, when a planet has been completely filled with the insignias, the insignia that is on here the most, including the moon, will take control of the planet. You'll see there's a flag here, and whoever has control of the planet here would be our circle insignia player. We'll put a circle on that flag, and when it is complete, we will circle the planet as well, so we know this planet is completely occupied. Now let's go through our actions here. We have plant and water actions that both work similarly. On the planet that we have drawn our insignia, we'll cross off an available plant symbol with the plant action, or cross off an available water symbol with the water action. So if I took this 12 and water here, I could place my triangle insignia on this planet here, place it in this red space since I'm the first one, and cross off the water symbol here. And then down below here in the scoring box, I would cross off the top most visible, lowest number. And so that would be this 0 here. The same will happen if I chose the 9 in planet action. With the robot action, you will place your insignia on one of the spaces for the asteroids here on the sheet. You will draw your insignia starting from your side of the sheet, so the closest side to me, and progress towards my opponent. So if I had triggered the robot action, I would place my triangle here. There are certain bonuses you can get with certain asteroids, and you would take those immediately and cross off that bonus on your sheet. For our energy action, we can improve the value of the planets that we control. There are 3 types of planets. There are green, blue, and gray. You'll notice in our scoring area down here in this box here, there's a column for each of those. There's a green, blue, and gray here. When we use the energy action, we are able to cross off the topmost number of one of those columns of our choice. So if I chose this 11 and energy token here, I'd place my insignia there and cross off whichever one I want there. With our planning action, it allows us to draw our insignia on the number of the combo we chose and an additional insignia on any moon of our choice. If I chose this 9 in planning action, I would place my triangle there, and I can place a triangle on any moon I want, so that isn't already occupied, so I could do this one here. Our astronaut action allows us to modify the value by increasing it up to 2 or decrease it by 2 without going below 0. When we use our astronaut action, we will circle one of the astronaut symbols down here. We would have the option to use one of these circled astronaut bonuses and modify a future number on a future turn and increase it or decrease it up to 2 or down to 2. If you choose to do this, you would cross that off, and it does not count against your normal combination action choices. If you take any bonuses that are water or plant, you will cross off the lowest value, highest visible number in the scoring boxes. If you placed your insignia on one of the spaces with the robot bonus, you would place your insignia on the next asteroid available and take a bonus if there's one available. If you take a planning bonus from the asteroid field, you would just cross off that number of spaces on the scoring box here. When you get an energy bonus, you will cross off that many number in whatever planet column you choose. Here we have our 3 missions. We accomplish this mission if we control 4 planets on the same sheet. We accomplish this mission if we've improved the value twice for each type of planet on the same sheet. And we accomplish this mission if we have crossed off 6 scoring boxes for the plants and 4 scoring boxes for the water on the same sheet. The game ends if we've accomplished 3 missions, or if we've crossed off 2 system error boxes, or if all the spaces of the planets are filled on 1 sheet. We'll tally up our scores down here. We'll add up any of our accomplished mission points here. We'll score the lowest visible scoring box here. Same with our water. For our planets, we'll write down the number of planets of each type that we controlled and multiply it by these numbers. So if I only controlled 1 blue one here, I would place a 1 here and get 2 times 1 with a 2 here. The lowest visible number for our planning action number will be placed here and subtracted, and our lowest visible number system error will be placed here and be subtracted. We will add these up, subtract these, and our total score will determine who the winner is. The highest score wins. And that's everything I can show you on how to set up and play Welcome to the Moon, and I'll see you next time for the next game. Bye!